Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase podcast. I'm your host, Jill Hart, and with me today is Adrienne Harris. Adrienne is a relationship and dating coach, expert at cosmic connections, and Book of Life numerologist and relationship harmony expert. Welcome to the show, Adrienne. It's really nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Jill.
So let's jump right in and hear your story. How did you become a numerologist to start with, and then how did all the other pieces kind of fall into place?
Awesome. Thanks for asking. Yeah, you know what? Numerology actually fell into my lap about 8 or 9 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I've been an entrepreneur for 18 years and had a business, and spirituality wasn't sort of a part of my world. And I met an individual who was a numerologist, and I attended a workshop, and she had me calculate my ruling number. And I added up all the numbers and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then I found out that I was a life path 11. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what is that? And a life path 11 is actually a spiritual wounded healer. And I was like, I'm a what? And so honestly, I think as soon as my soul realized what I was here to do, my life literally changed its trajectory, and it's been super cool since then.
That is awesome. And how did you figure out what your life path number was?
So you literally, one of the things, you can go to my website and I'll give you the link for that. But all you do is you just calculate the numbers of your birthday. So you add your month to your day to your year. So for example, mine is June 3rd, 1973. So 6 plus 3 plus 1 plus 9 plus 7 plus 3. It equals 29, and 2 plus 9 equals 11. So we calculate the numbers, and then we add them up until we get a number between 2 and 11. Those are the ruling numbers. And that is really ultimately, I call it a ruling number because I've learned the Pythagorean style. But some people call it life path. And it can be interchangeable, but it is really a neat thing because once we find out our energy, then we can understand so much about ourselves.
Yeah, I've been down that path a few times myself.
It's not complicated. That's one of the things I've dabbled in astrology and human design and Clifton Strengths and all of these kinds of things. I experienced a very tough life of trauma growing up as a child. And I've been really into personal growth and professional growth. And astrology just it pointed in the right direction, but numerology just kind of resonated more with my soul. And I think that that's one thing to share is not everyone resonates with this. And I think that we're here to translate energy in a different way, but I can literally tell someone's ruling number and tell them something about themselves, and it's never wrong.
Okay, let's do it with me.
Sure. Okay. What's your birthday?
It's 2/24/1960. I think it's 6.
Yeah. So one thing I'm going to tell you right away is that you have two twos in your chart. And one of the things is you are very intuitive and you know how to just automatically know what other people need. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's my
so
superpower.
yeah. So you're also a ruling number 6 and you're all about home and peace and harmony and love. And it's such a beautiful energy because it sits within the masculine and the feminine realm. So you're able to adapt with that masculine and feminine energy. One thing I'll tell you about yourself, though, is you dislike conflict.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes me sick to my stomach. I
Yeah.
just like, I try to avoid it at all costs, and often to my own detriment. Like,
Mhm.
in order to avoid conflict, I will just like, I'll just swallow it and go
Yeah.
along with whatever somebody wants to do, even if
Yeah.
it's like causing me problems.
Yeah. I was married to a 6 energy for 26 years. I didn't know it at the time. And that's one of the reasons how I've sort of gravitated into this relationship coaching is because I wanted to know why my husband didn't talk to me about the things that he should have talked to me about, because if he would have just come to me and talked to me, then we wouldn't have gotten a divorce. And if we avoid that conflict, it's very challenging because how is the other person supposed to know? And that's one of the things that I do is I take a look at those energies and I help people with, understanding who they are and why.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry about that. In fact, I'm gonna let him out. Husband might not come. Dogs. Dogs and children.
Of course.
So you were saying, I'm sorry that I interrupted you,
That's
that
okay. No, it's all good. Yeah, I was finished saying what I was saying, just in the sense that I think that that's one of the things about our energy. I am an 11 and 1 plus 1 equals 2. So I'm actually a very sensitive energy. And I was brought up saying, you're too sensitive. You're too sensitive. You cry all the time. And that has actually, now that I'm turned 51, and I've been a numerologist now for a couple of years, I'm like, no, my sensitivity is actually my superpower, right? And so that's one of the things is understanding the how the correlation of our numbers work, and all these kinds of things. I can tell a lot about a person. Um, and you actually also have what's called the arrow of skepticism. And so until you actually learn about something, can you make it part of your philosophies and part of who you are?
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And there's
Yeah.
times when I will just throw it all out too.
Yeah.
Like, I can look at something and I can hold it without actually having to believe it, or I can try it on. And if it doesn't fit in me, it may take, a couple minutes. It could take decades.
Mhm.
But when I close the door on it, it's closed.
Yeah.
I've set it over there.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the neat thing is I can just take a look at people's numbers and I can just, because I have a combination of 3369 in my own chart,
Mhm.
I actually see the patterns within people and I can instantly tell something about somebody that they might not have told anybody else. And it's a really innate ability that I have, especially also with my intuitive and my hypersensitivity, is that I can lean in and I can help people from a place of kindness and compassion and understanding.
I can see how that would really help relationships in terms of dating. It's like, do people come to you and say, hey, I'm thinking about dating this person and this is their birthday?
Yes, I get it all the time. It's one of the fun things that I do. I actually have a lot of girlfriends who message me and go, "Tell me about this guy." They'll send me the birthdays, and I actually work with people. I have a small fee for sometimes if someone just wants to know cosmic connection, they can just message me, and I can put together like a little 2-page thing because not only are we looking at your ruling number, but we're also looking at your book of life numerology system, which is a very unique system that's been hidden from humanity for all of our lives.
So tell me about that. That's
Yeah, so this system has been around since humanity's been alive. There's only a couple thousand practitioners in the world that use this system. It's called many things, but from a numerology standpoint, a lot of us numerologists call it the book of life or quantum numerology.
Mhm.
And it's been around since about 5000 BCE. So it came from the Sumerian times and Egypt. And what it is it's based on the deck of 52 cards.
Is it tarot?
Nope, it's not tarot. It's from before tarot. It's very unique because the day that you were born into this world, you were born into certain energy. So,
Mhm.
for example, I'll just pull up my little chart here. So, you're born on the 24th of February. So, that means that you are a 3 of diamonds energy. And so, there was a book that was written back in the 1800s by a gentleman named Richmond Olney, and he was given this information to him through certain ways. We don't know exactly how. And
Mhm.
he wrote this book. If you actually want to purchase the book, it's a couple of $1,000s, which is not available. And yeah, it helps people really understand their energy and what they're here to experience in this lifetime. And so I do yearly forecasts for people because each year that on the date of your birthday, you're actually gifted new energy.
Oh, that's fun. So
Yeah.
people should definitely be contacting you before their birthday.
Yeah, well, I actually bump it. I talk to people all the time. I'm very social, and I love doing people's energy forecast for them because the last couple of clients that I've had, they have a 9 in their like sort of in their overall year energy, and
Mhm.
nines are always about a completion of a cycle. And that could be in many different ways. So we tie in numbers, so numerology, and we tie in the suits. And also with this system, we tie in planets. So it's an astronumerology system that we utilize.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I might have met another person who does something like this. I know she uses the regular cards and she told me it had nothing to do with tarot. Um, but I do know that tarot did start with the cards. I think a lot of the reason we have playing cards has to do with that. I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but that
So, and then
is what
one of
I
the biggest,
understood.
yeah, the one of the biggest things is that, and this is all like, so the system is hidden. It's been hidden from humanity for thousands and thousands of years.
Mhm.
And the reason that they hid it in the deck of cards was because the books got burnt. There's a lot of stuff that humanity doesn't know about. And so this system was hidden in the deck of cards, and it was carried throughout the world, through China and Europe and so on and so forth. So no one would ever think to burn the deck of cards because it was used to, play games and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
And so now that it's come into our lives, we as a humanity have been waiting for this level of consciousness before it gets put out into the world.
Yeah, there's so many things that are becoming more visible, I guess is one way to put it,
Yeah.
that even 5 years ago was just like nobody knew about it or
Hmm.
thought about it or considered that it could be a possibility. But
Yeah.
as these things are becoming more mainstream, I think it's really helping everyone have better relationships with each other and with themselves And so they're able to really be the person they're here to be. And I think
Yeah.
we all have a mission while we're here. And it sounds like what you're doing just helps people really cement in their own being what they're here to do, and
Right.
to confirm things. Like you were saying, these are certain characteristics that I have, and yeah, that's
Yes.
who I am.
Yeah.
I'll tell
It's
you
it's
something funny really fast.
sure.
I have two husbands, I like serially, one after the other, not at the same time, but their birth dates are both the same day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you've and this is the really neat thing. So people ask me all the time, well, what about twins? What about, people that are born on the same day? And I'm like, they are the same energy, but what ends up happening is with this deck of cards, we actually get born into 13 different types of energy. So actually
Mhm.
you and I are a connection because we're right beside each other in the life spread. And I am actually your sun and you are my moon. So it's actually a very cool connection. So we'll have to chat about that later. Um, but the neat thing is that even though someone has the same birthday, I always bring in the ruling number information, so that's always helpful. But the other part of it too is that the belief is that your soul has chosen how it wants to live out this life. So, for example, I have met other Ace of Spades, which is my card. I am the card of the Magi. I'm the card of the system. That was the other thing that was a big wow thing for me. But I have met other Ace of Spades, and they have chosen to live their life differently. Um, A, based upon their ruling number, and B is that they didn't have the life that I had, and I've chosen to learn how to. So my lesson in this lifetime is for me to learn how to love myself unconditionally. And that's what I teach people is to learn how to love yourself, no matter the things that your strengths, your weaknesses, your challenges, the sabotages you might do, your patterns of behavior. I layer in a lot into the coaching that I do with clients because not only am I looking at your card system, but I'm looking at your attachment styles. I'm looking at your how you were raised, your patterns of behavior. There's so many things that come along with who we become. And so that's the really unique thing about having somebody. So I find it funny because that might be the fact that you didn't experience that energy well the first time around, so you went for a second go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And ultimately they are actually friends at this point because it's been so long.
Yes.
And we all grow up and change, and we're not the same people we were 30 years ago.
No.
It's
Yeah.
interesting that you're talking about life paths, in terms of, I do think we have soul contracts where we
Yes.
pick how our life is going to go, not
Yeah.
specifically like this is going to happen on this day, but I mean, it's not preordained, but in a way it is. We start out, we preordain stuff, but then we come down here and we forget what it was. And
Right.
so we spend our life, excuse me, trying to figure it back out again.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that I was married to my ex-husband for 26 years, and
Mhm.
he's a wonderful man. He's a great father. He is just a really great guy, but there's things within his energy that he wasn't wanting to look at. And I also didn't have that knowledge back then. If I could, talk to him about that now, it would be very different. Um, but this is his lesson to learn. And he lost his best friend. And it was interesting because we're just going through the signing of our divorce papers because we're very amicable and it's all good. But it's interesting because I continue to play the role that I play throughout our relationship dynamic. And that is the soul contract that we chose to be and to do. And it's very interesting because after he and I separated, I started dating and I met somebody and um just didn't realize, like, I had gone to counseling and worked through all my stuff, and I looked at it and I was like, this relationship, I've worked to be very secure within myself and so on and so forth. But I truly believe that I got into that relationship with that man to help me move along in my studies and move along in my knowledge of what it is that I do. And we decided that soul contract. He was a two of spades and I'm an ace of spades. So that is a sun moon connection as well. And he had had a lot of trauma, and he possibly needed to meet me, and I needed to meet him to work through the things that that we had had. And I'm now, I call myself a dating coach because truly, the gentleman that I'm dating now, we have a profound cosmic connection. And what ends up happening with that is that he is he is Jupiter's and Mars to me. And when we think about the planet Jupiter, it's a benefic planet. It's very positive. It's very uplifting. And that is our relationship. It's very different. And that's the cool thing is that when I look at cosmic connections, I can see people's planetary alignments and what makes them gel, what makes them what makes it work and what doesn't make it work, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. And
Yeah.
so how would people come to you, and how do you organize your sessions with people? Or is it
Yeah, absolutely. So
one-on-one or
I
group
always,
or?
for sure. Well, I send people to my website,
Mhm,
adrienneharris.ca. I'm in Canada.
mhm,
And I just, people can click on any one of the links and fill out a form and it comes to me. I like to know where people are at first before they come and work with me. It's kind of like a little bit of an interview. I don't think that I'm meant for everybody. And yeah, so they fill out the form, and in that form they have an email address, and I email them, and we start to have a conversation because as a two energy, an 11-2 energy, I'm all about relationships. I'm all about connection. That is actually my energy. So I don't want to work with people that are just kind of one off, because I continue my relationships with my clients even after they possibly get their blueprint done or possibly get their yearly forecast done. I'm always checking in on them because that relationship, they've chosen to have a soul contract with me in
mhm.
helping them step into their spiritual journey, because that's what I'm here for.
I can totally relate to that. It's really hard for me on my life path to have a casual relationship with people. I,
Yes.
it's like we have to be we have to be friends. I know you're my client, but we still there's going to be something there. There's going to be an exchange of energy that will never leave. It's like I
Yeah.
give you a piece of myself and I take a piece of you and keep it inside of me.
Yeah.
It's like
Well, and the neat thing I love about relationships is we come into relationships. So there's two basic things that humans want. We want, first off, we want connection. We are meant to be connection. And the second thing is we also just want to be authentic in that connection. And what has happened as a society is we've been taught to not be our authentic selves. And so this is what I get to do with people day in and day out, is I get to teach them who they are, and they get to learn all about it, and then they get to apply it to their life. And that's what excites me, because I get the most amazing texts from clients saying, "Oh my gosh, I actually just didn't speak up and I kept my mouth shut, and when something amazing happened, because they've got the energy that they might possibly interrupt somebody all the time, or like I give them their empowered and disempowered sides." So I really ultimately just give them give them their toolbox that they can choose to use those tools to help with the relationship dynamics in their life. I've helped everything from someone who was got an arranged marriage. He had actually been put together with someone, and they started to get along really well. And so I pulled up his charts and her charts, and I said, listen, okay, I'm like, these are the questions you need to ask her. This is her energy. And not even a month later, I went and saw him at his work, and he's like, I got married. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, based upon your questions, he's like, I took that information and I asked her all the questions, and we're good. And we got married in India. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow, that's amazing. Right? So
Yeah, I
this
got
is the one
goosebumps.
thing I absolutely love it, because, I just want people to have better relationships.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I've been challenged in my life is relationships. I don't have a healthy relationship with my mom or my dad. I experienced a lot of abuse growing up, and um and I believe that they did things you know, I don't say that they did the best that they could have, because they could have changed the trajectory of things halfway through that. But at the same time, I also know the cosmic connection that I have with the two of them, and I am meant to be their lesson in this lifetime. And that's okay. I've had to come to a lot of terms with those types of relationships in my life. And it's okay, because I am who I am, and I just love my life.
That's a hard lesson to learn, is letting people that are supposed to be your family be who they are. And it's okay if they want to have an extended arm distance relationship with you.
Yeah.
You can have a surfacey relationship with your parents. It's totally fine. It's and you can do the same with your kids.
Yeah.
It's like we all, before we came, decided what the ground rules were going to be.
We
And you
sure
can't
did.
make them different just because society says, well, if you want to be like a really great parent, then you have great relationships with all of your kids and you never fight, or families never fight. It's like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Families are just a bunch of people that are connected in an interesting way.
Yeah. It's really helped me. I have a 21-year-old son, and it's really helped me understand who he is. And I have learned not to try and control the relationship. I'm just here. And because I'm such a strong energy in his life, I'm here to just help guide him and support him. I cannot step in and do these things. I unfortunately looked at his forecast and saw some things, and I now know to just zip it. um, and
Sometimes
the
they
thing,
just got to go through what they're going to go through.
right?
It's not like,
Exactly. Yeah, and that was my lesson too. And I think that that's the biggest thing too, is if we were to understand the relationship dynamics between people. I've worked with a family of a mother, and she has three adult grown children that are all fighting. And so I went through and I looked at not only their ruling numbers, but I also looked at the cosmic connections between each other and what each of them brings to the other person, so that they can understand each other on a deeper level, because they're fighting over something that is just so minuscule. And it's like, okay, you know what? Like, and these are the things that they got to understand about themselves. And it's like, oh, and so, it's brought a little bit more peace and harmony into the interactions between each other, which is ultimately the goal, is to bring that more peace and harmony into each other's lives.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it happens when we understand that everybody has their place and we can just value them for being who they are, instead of trying to force them to be something that they're not and they're never going to be, and then getting mad at them because they're not the thing that we want them to be.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not up to us to live their lives. We should be busy living our own.
Yeah, well, that's what my boyfriend says. This is the first sort of, I guess, relationship that he's had where he's like, you don't want to change me. And I'm like, no, I love you the way that you are. Like, why would I want to change you? And he was like, well, I want to change. And I'm like, well, that's up to you. That's your choice. And yeah, no, I'm not here to change. I'm here to help you. My card, especially my energy, is related to death, rebirth, and transformation. That's who I am. And so when people work with me, I always kind of give them a bit of a heads up that there's going to be a little part of them that dies. And that might be the part that they don't like about themselves. And that you're going to rebirth into some new energy, and there's going to be transformation because I work with another layer within my coaching called the divine timing cycle. And so we're meant to go from awareness to transmutation on a regular basis. And we are not meant to stay stuck. That's not how the universe works. And a lot of people want to just stay the same. And I'm like, ah, okay, if you want to, then eventually the universe is just going to push you off the cliff, either in health, career, relationships, you name it. So you decide. It's your choice, but the universe has other plans for you. So I just suggest you kind of just play along with it.
Yep. The
Right?
universe has its own ideas about how things are going to go together, and you can kick and scream all you want, but it's much easier if you just kind of relax into it and get a little bit of a heads up and
Mhm.
about what your purpose is and how your relationships can go.
Yeah. And I think that that's the biggest thing too, is that, and I always start off with people understanding who you are first, because, when I started dating, I was like, I'm sensitive. And to meet somebody that doesn't want to understand my sensitivity, I can't be with someone like that, because I need to have that empathy. I need to have them to understand why I'm the way that I am. I don't want them to change themselves for me, but I need them to um yeah, to just understand who I am, because I say it right off the bat. And I also have within my within my energy, I have black and white thinking, and I sometimes don't see the gray areas. And so there's lots of little things that I've learned about myself that I am so blessed to have learned, because when I step into relationships with other people, be it clients or friends or even my own family, I know that I can be a little bit overbearing. I know these things about myself, and so I can just kind of take a little bit of a step back and just say, okay, you know what? How do you want to show up here? And I don't always have to be a certain way all the time, which has taught me a lot about myself.
Isn't it kind of refreshing though? Because I'm like that too. It's like I know how to get this done. Let's just do it. And I get this part done so we can move on to the next thing. But
Right.
sometimes other people, they just want to go through the experience. And I've had to learn to like ask, but it's given me, it's taken the pressure off of me to be the person that fixes everybody's problems. It's like,
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's huge. And I find that even now, like, I have relationships even with like my personal trainer at the gym. I go to the gym so that she can boss me around. I'm like,
yeah, I love it.
just tell me what to do. She's also part of my energy that I work with. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm here. You just boss me around. You tell me what to do, and I'll tell you about, your relationship dynamics with your children, which is actually really cool as well. So, yeah, and I think that that's one of the things, is to really just kind of lean into it,
Mhm,
and not fight the fact that we have chosen our paths. We have chosen these lives,
mhm,
that we're here to experience these lessons.
for sure. So, how do people get in touch with you if they're interested in working with you? And most importantly, how to get the ruling number is considered one of the most important numbers in your numerology chart,
Yeah.
and they can find that through your
Website. Yeah, so I have a website, so www.adrienneharris.ca. You can also find me on socials, Adrienne H Coaching. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I think it's, that was one of the things, was because of my hypersensitivity, I was kind of like, in the background, and now I'm just like, no, people need to find me. People need to reach out, and I'm actually in the process of I'm going to be starting a podcast with another numerologist. So I'm super excited. Yeah, it's this is kind of one of the things that has been on my, just sort of on my bucket list of things that I want to do. It's part of my vision. So when I work with people, I always look at values, vision, and lifestyle. What is it that you want of this life, right? Because I think I ask a lot of people, I'm like, what do you want? A lot of people can't answer that question. So I'm a tough coach. I am. I work with people who are very self-led and self-motivated. And I won't drag you kicking and screaming. That's not who I work with. I work with people that really want to know about themselves and really want to enhance their life through working with me. That's a major goal of mine. So yeah.
That's very cool. It has been an honor getting to chat with you, Adrienne. What's the one thing that you hope the audience takes away from this conversation?
To be honest with you, I think I posted about this the other day, is that when we don't understand something, we are programmed to judge it. And so I would just love for people to just have an open mind and possibly set their programs and their beliefs aside and be open to something new and to be curious, because that's what our soul has come here to experience.
I love that. We'll leave it with that. Thank you so much for joining me.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Jill. It was great.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.